So, hi everyone, and I've just realised I'm videoing this at a time of the day that it's not ideal because it's around midday, just past, and the sun's just above. And 10 minutes ago it was a grey sky, and now the sun is above. And so what it can do, it can wash out what you see. So it's not the best time to film outside, but anyway, let's give it a go. And I actually had some talking notes, and I forgot to bring them. So I thought we'll have to go off the top of my head again, but let's see how we get on. Once again in the news today, we have Ukraine, we have Johnny Depp, we have Elon Musk, Twitter, and we have inflation and increasing prices. And I'm going to try and remember all of those and somehow link them all together, or speak individually about them. But what is interesting is Johnny Depp, and because I clicked on a link yesterday thinking, how ridiculous this guy has, intentionally, put himself into a courtroom that's televised, and, all his dirty washing is going to be aired for everyone to see. But something caught my attention, and so I watched a bit of the live courtroom discussion, testimony, and one thing that struck me very quickly was, he talks slowly and seems to talk off topic, but I imagine for him, he's frameworking his what he wants to say, so he's offering a lot more information about what he's talking about. But something made me just watch it a little more, because I sort of found it interesting, and then the camera would pan to Amber Heard, and I found her expressions and interesting, and then it would go back to Johnny Depp, and so I actually found myself watching it, maybe for 20 minutes, this live courtroom drama, and I thought to myself, okay, what is the truth here? Because some of the claims he's made that sort of are the strap lines to the whole of this is that he's not a violent guy, he doesn't hit people, and he wants to clear his name, and I guess he wants to clear his name because the revelations of Amber Heard and the previous court hearings have deformed his public image a little, and maybe he's not getting the film work that he would normally get. I don't know, but I think that's what it is. And so yes, he wants to go back in court and clear his name. Now, straight away, you have to be pretty deranged to be not telling the truth and to want to go into court and try and convince everyone of a non-truth. So that made me think, well, he must believe that he is telling the truth to want to put himself under such scrutiny. So I thought that was interesting. And so it sort of gripped me a little bit, and I thought, my pain threshold is very low for this sort of thing, so I thought I'd watch for 30 seconds, and perhaps I watched for about 30 minutes actually, and I was quite intrigued. But what was interesting is at the end of me watching it, my opinion had changed from being very skeptical of Johnny Depp to perhaps believing a little more of what he was saying. I found myself believing what he was saying, was perhaps a more accurate view than I considered it might have been. And again, I could be completely wrong, and maybe everything Amber Heard said is more accurate and more the truth. But I just find it very interesting that he'd want to defend himself and put the record straight. If an amount of what he's saying, isn't truth also. Anyway, it's very interesting. But it made me look at another video of some of the good work that Johnny Depp has done, and it made me think, what a shame. He's done quite a lot of good work. He's done lots of good deeds for other people. He's helped lots of other people, and he comes across as an artistic sort of bloke, and a likeable chap, I suppose. And again, Amber Heard, she's very likeable, and these are two decent people, really, and the whole thing is just very unfortunate. And I suppose the problem or the excuse for them both is, they live in a very difficult working environment. Being a famous movie star, is actually not an easy job. The very thing that I imagine, I know lots of actors have said that the very thing that you crave for before you're famous is the very thing that you dislike, when the fame comes. Being famous brings with it a lot of things that you never thought were there, and they make life very uncomfortable. So yeah, it's quite an unpleasant, it can be an unpleasant, life and lifestyle, being a famous movie actor. Anyway, so that's Johnny Depp. Okay, so the second thing I will attempt to talk about is Ukraine once again. And, what a shame. And, I was initially, a few weeks ago, I decided that I wasn't going to talk about Ukraine because I'm just not informed enough. And I don't know enough facts about it to do the topic justice. And it is a very sad subject, and it's very polarizing, because if you appear to support one side, you instantly pick up a lot of dislike from people that support the other side. And also, it's very difficult to get accurate facts. Wars, what appears in the mainstream news media, unfortunately, has to be one-sided, I suppose, because that the side that you're on needs to be supported. And essentially, wars are very sad anyway. Actually, I've before the Ukraine war, I've actually spoken about war, and one of the points I made was that every war in history has been about somebody wanting to take something from somebody else. That tends to be land or resources, or because one side is defending itself against what it perceives to be an aggressor, and that threat is so great that they've moved to strike first. But or both those situations actually. But this war, because it's so in your face, really, and it seems so ridiculous. Today, what I wanted to say, that the things I've said perhaps can be construed that I'm fully, that I'm against Russia, and I wanted to make clear that I'm not against Russia at all. I'm not against Russian people. I have Russian friends, and all the Russian people I know are great. Like everyone else I know, everyone's super. They're nice. They're great people. So my comments have nothing to do with Russian people or Russia as a country. My comments are really based on my perception and understanding of what appears to me one individual is doing, and that individual is Vladimir Putin. and it appears to me that he has, it's really his decision to invade a neighbouring country, Ukraine, and the justification for that, even though I am aware of his justification, still doesn't seem justified at all. And all that's come of this decision, his decision, is a lot of people have died on both sides. A lot of, I mean, the building destruction in Ukraine is unbelievable. I mean, there has been so much destruction, and there is one aspect of that I'll come to at the end, but it is an invasion, and it appears that one man made that a decision. I think it's a massive mistake for him and for Russia. The economic sanctions that the West has imposed, these sanctions are biting Russia, and the Russian people are going to suffer. The ordinary Russian in the street is going to suffer because of these sanctions. Ultimately, the oligarchs and the Russians that Putin has put in power and control, that run Russia's infrastructure, they are going to suffer also. I can't see what economic situation is going to prevail that's going to benefit Russian people generally. I can't see that. This time, this war, this invasion, is not going to work. Putin has crossed the line here, and I can't see him coming out of this good. And in fact, in my other video, I think it's very likely that he will be ousted somehow by Russia itself. This invasion has gone too far, and it's going to cost him dearly. But it's also going to cost innocent Russian people, and of course a lot of Ukraine victims, and a lot of Ukraine's infrastructure and its buildings are all damaged, are all absolutely, smashed to pieces. I mean, everything about this Ukraine war is terrible. There's nothing good about it. It's just terrible. And where I want to end off with this discussion about Ukraine is, you can already see investment banks lining up to cash in on the rebuilding of Ukraine. The investment banks already see the positive here of this war. They can't wait to get the infrastructure rebuilding contracts. Investment banks just see Ukraine as a massive payday, and once again, investment banks just they never fail to disappoint you if you look at them closely. They are. I know it's unpopular what I'm saying, but investment banks, all they seem to do most of the time is cause trouble, serious large-scale trouble. I know that I'm going to come across very negative here saying this, and I know a lot of people might cringe watching this, but investment banks, you really are trouble, and you've got yourselves into a position that, when under scrutiny, is going to fall over. You really are responsible for lots of negatives. The fruit of an investment bank's labour is nothing but trouble and unfairness and inequality. Well, inequality creating. Anyway, I don't want to bash investment banks too hard because it's too easy. And I know that lots of good people work for investment banks, and lots of people in investment banks are good people, and they have very good ideals. and they have, very good views on, they're decent people, but it's what investment banks do. It's the outcome of their activity, their business activity. It's the result of their involvement. On the whole, tends to be, in my experience, what I've seen, investment banks, what they are doing is not good. It's not good for society. One of the biggest things that they do is they impact, they make worse inequality. Anyway, I'm going to stop there on investment banks because, once again, just let me caveat what I've said there. This is my broad stroke opinion, and I'm generalising a lot to make a point. So, there will be some good things that investment banks do, but they will be isolated events, and I'm talking very generally. But yeah, I'll come back to investment banks. Okay, so the next one is Elon Musk, Twitter, free speech. And do you know what? Actually, before I get into Elon, I'm going to attempt to take off my top, and I think I'll need to do it by putting the camera down. So hold on. There you go. Literally 10 minutes ago, the weather was cloudy and cold. I had a coat on this morning, and as I've been walking, I'm warm. Okay, so back to free speech, Elon Musk, Twitter. So this morning I had to again discuss Elon Musk's attempt to buy Twitter, and I had to, as clearly as possible as I could, very quickly explain to some people the share price, Twitter's share price, and what, in my opinion, I thought was going on with respect to the blocking of Elon Musk buying Twitter. Now, I really believe that all Elon Musk is trying to do there is actually promote free speech. I really believe that's his motive. And of course, if he owned Twitter, we might expect that. Actually, no, I don't. I really believe he was trying to support free speech, and everything about the way he lives, and his work experience, and the fruit of his labour seems to suggest that he's an honest sort of a chap. So I really believe he is wanting to support free speech, and so straight away the fact that the people that run Twitter do not want that is very, very telling. Now, the other very interesting item here is that those people that are making these decisions own less than 1% of Twitter. So, they are a small shareholder in Twitter, and they've got together and they've decided that he can't buy it because they don't want him to release the algorithms and to release evidence of transparency on the platform. So the only conclusion that you can arrive at is that there is a hidden hand within Twitter, and that hidden hand doesn't want to reveal itself or reveal the truth behind why they do not want Elon Musk to own Twitter. And unfortunately, in my experience, when someone's trying to hide the truth, the reason for that is that there is a high level of self-interest and or greed attached to it. And that's the only conclusion that you can come to. Now, what is very interesting is that he has a second strategy to obtain Twitter, and that I believe he has employed. And it's going to be very interesting to actually see, what turns out there. It's so interesting, especially to someone like me. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. And this leads me on to, once again, censorship, freedom of speech. And we are certainly heading into a time where censorship is increasing. Now, in the West, we have censorship, and in places like China and Russia you have censorship. Now, I'm not saying that the West, and again when I say the West I mean Europe, North America, New Zealand, Australia and Israel. I'm not I'm not saying that our censorship is anything like that of China and Russia, for example, and also the Middle East, it seems. We definitely have the best situation that there is in the world today. And can't believe I just picked my nose then, sorry about that. So, but unfortunately we are heading in the direction of China, it seems, and Russia. But Russia is a little bit ridiculous because it's so obviously heavily censored. But that's what you get with a dictatorship, like the Putin dictatorship. Anyway, censorship. Now, it's very sad because I think Western people, when I say Western, I mean people that live in Europe, North America, Australia, New Zealand, Israel. I suppose I should say Canada, United States, Europe, and the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Israel. So that's who I mean. Actually, and there are some other countries, but those guys I've just mentioned were sort of similar, really, on how we do business. Our political landscapes are run pretty much the same way, and we have the general, capitalistic themes, and and unfortunately, censorship is becoming a real thing now. On a scale of 1 to 10, if China ship has censorship at a level 8, and Russia is at a censorship level of number 7, the UK and the West, is probably on a censorship level of number 2. So we're way behind countries and areas that display, heavy censorship. But the problem is that we have it, and the problem is that it's been displayed in the most bizarre and odd way. For example, banning Trump from Twitter when there are people much worse on Twitter. People with much worse human rights records. Just bad people that are on Twitter, and they are not banned, but yet President Trump was banned. And again, I mention that because it's absolutely unbelievable. And the second massive indicator that we have a problem is the censorship around COVID. Because if you said anything on any of these platforms that was a negative towards the pandemic, vaccinations, and government policy over pandemic and vaccinations, you were censored. And that's just terrible, because what it means is that something is being hidden. It's as simple as that. However you want to skin this cat, you are going to arrive at that conclusion: something is hidden. And once again, whenever anything is hidden, it's always because of self-interest and or greed. That's it. What the self-interest is in the context of COVID, is something to debate, and I've made videos about that. But what it means is that the big social media platforms, and so let's name them: Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google services. Let's just stick with those because they have the market share by a long shot. There was almost a coordinated censorship policy on all of the platforms. I mean, it's really quite interesting. So if you said a thing that one platform just removed, all the platforms would remove that same thing, which means that there's an amount of control in those platforms that is coming from the same place. And that's a fact. It can't be disputed. The executive functions in these organizations are somehow chatting to each other, and there is coordinated effort around what can and can't be said on the internet on these platforms. Now, just to add here, that's actually not all bad. There are reasons why all of these platforms would have a coordinated policy on things like antisocial behavior, child sex abuse, crime, stuff that just causes harm and trouble for other people. So there's one good reason that these platforms would have a coordinated approach to things that are bad. Unfortunately, technology and these platforms, are great things, but unfortunately, the bad parts of our society and culture can also take advantage of this technology. And so that's why we do need a coordinated effort, in that context. But a coordinated effort towards free speech is just not cool. And if the free speech is hateful, yes, it shouldn't be there. But somebody offering an opinion about wearing face masks or offer an opinion about the effectiveness of vaccines, that should not be censored, and it is. Again, meaning there is a hidden underlying agenda that to varying degrees is bad or worse than bad. That's the only conclusion that you can arrive at. So, we have censorship around big ticket items, and this censorship is coordinated across all the major platforms. And we have Elon Musk wanting to buy Twitter. So I think I'll leave it there right now. I've actually other videos, I touch on this subject. I'm hoping today that I'm actually recapping, and hopefully my points made are better. I'm hoping that's the case. And I think there was one more thing I mentioned at the very beginning. This is why you need notes and a chat plan. So I've mentioned Russia, Ukraine, Twitter, censorship, and the last thing, I'm sure there was one more thing, and I've forgotten what it is. So I'm literally, my head now is just whizzing round things I've said in the last hour. I can't think what it is. What else would I be talking about? Johnny Depp. Yes, inflation and rising prices. Okay. Right. This is a big one, actually, and I'm pleased that I didn't forget it. Right. Inflation. Inflation is the result of a fiat monetary system that we use in the world today. So fiat currencies are things like the dollar, pound, euro, Japanese yen. And what that means is that the money is printed out of fresh air, and the reason it works is because lots of people need to use that money as a value of exchange, and the people creating that money have the ability to force the use of it. Inflation is a technical consequence of fiat money. Okay. And so the point I'm making, that's really all you need to understand. Now, if you don't understand that or believe that, let me add another sentence. The reason that inflation happens is because you print more money, it deflates the value of money that's already in existence. That's basically it. And that's why you basically have inflation. Now, but we have price increases. Now, these price increases are greater than inflation. Now, if the price increases are in line with inflation, what you have is a balanced, stable fiat currency. But when you have price increases that are disproportionate to the level of inflation, it means you have a bigger problem. And this bigger problem is because the way a fiat monetary system works is the majority of the people that hold that fiat currency have to be poor. Lots of people being poor means that lots of jobs that people don't like to do will get done because of the need for that labour, for the need for that money to buy stuff. It forces people into jobs that are less appealing. So essentially what I'm saying is that the recap is to make for a fiat currency to work, number one, you need lots of people. Number two, the ability to force the use of it. Right, so that's how you make the currency work. But to make the currency work long term, you basically need most of your population that use that currency to be poor. So their need for it is very high. And that's how you get all your labour. That's how you get your labour market fed. Because if you have lots of poor people, you can expect jobs that are less attractive will be fulfilled because of the individual's need for food and shelter. So they'll take any job. What I'm saying is pretty awful. I know that, and instantly lots of people might argue against me, but I promise you, what I'm saying is correct. It's just it's just a very hard truth. Now, when you say things like this to people that know what they're talking about, they will turn around to you and say, look, this is the best of lots of bad options. This is the least bad option. And I actually believe that, because that's one of the things I say as well. So, perhaps I'm a hypocrite. So, the reason now, but what I've just offered is the explanation for price rise increases that are disproportionate to inflation. Now, perhaps it takes a wise person to understand what I've just said, but I've just clearly explained why we have price rises increasing. Now, of course, the war in Ukraine is a big factor. Yes, that would have a knock-on effect. But it also creates the opportunity for the powers that be to capitalize on that and increase these prices further. Now, they will claim that it's strategic and it's to secure, future investment in X, Y, and Z so that we don't have that problem again. That's what they will tell you, but it's just a line. The real thing behind it is the people and the powers that be just simply want to protect what they've got, or take an opportunity to control more of what they already have access to. And in this case, Russia is going to lose. That's how it works. So what I've just said there is pretty horrible, I admit that, and quite hard hitting. And if you take what I've said to all the clever people that with PhDs and government advisors, I'd be jolly interested to know what their response is to what I've just said. And please do, and comment below. So what I'm saying is pretty terrible. I get that, but that is the reason why prices are going up. Yes, there will be some genuine shortages because of manufacturing capabilities. I mean, right now in China are being locked down because the Chinese government just sees an opportunity to lock people down, and that's what they're doing. So yeah, that does have. So that is just box standard, very simple economics. Supply and demand, and when a company stops manufacturing something that's in high demand, the prices go up. But this is only a temporary thing. But the other value of prices going up is that it takes money off people, and if you like, it resets the economy, because once again you're getting back to that sweet spot that a fiat-based monetary system needs, and it needs most people to be poor, and that's what increasing prices actually achieves. I mean, I challenge anyone to take that to the best PhD economists that you can find and government advisors and run that past them and just see what they say. Just see how they come back from what I've just said. Okay, it's pretty hard hitting what I've said, and I sort of apologise, and I don't want that to be just a source of doom and gloom and upset for people, because how I go on, how I further explain this is I end up explaining that this is the best of a lot of other bad options, and then you will say to me, hold on, Stephen, there's got to be a better way, and I myself conclude that there has to be a better way. And in other videos I've offered that framework of discussion, and yes, we can that's for debate, and I'm sure that lots of good people in some of the better countries around the world think exactly the same way. They are striving for a better way, but striving for a better way unfortunately means that we need to address inequality, and inequality is the thing that is demanded, is required by a fiat monetary system. And so we end up back at this uncomfortable predicament of survival of the fittest, and fiat money systems are the best of a lot of bad options. Anyway, I'm going to leave the video there. I hope this is of interest, and there will be more to come, and I'm hoping that my production quality and my hairstyle improves, and I'm going as quickly as I can to do this. And again, I wish everyone a good day, and speak again soon.